The council chamber of the Galactic Alliance was filled with the sound of laughter. Long tables of alien leaders stretched from one end of the shining hall to the other. Their eyes glowed with arrogance as they mocked the reports that had arrived from the edge of the galaxy. The reports spoke of humans, a new species, daring to challenge the most powerful fleets in existence. "Ridiculous," one of the scaled generals hissed, his sharp teeth clicking together. "These humans do not even understand the rules of war. They ignore protocol, they ignore honor, they ignore everything that has kept peace between our people for centuries. They are children playing with fire. They will burn." Another voice, deep and heavy, rose from the far side of the table. "No fleet can survive without following the rules. Strategy is balanced, battles are controlled, losses are limited. These humans break everything. They are reckless and suicidal. Their kind will not last a single war season." The laughter grew louder, echoing like thunder across the chamber, but in the shadows at the back of the hall, a few figures remained silent. They had read the reports carefully. Scouts had gone missing near the human border. Small patrols had been destroyed without warning. Survivors described strange tactics, attacks that came from nowhere, and ships that did not fight in the proper formations. It was chaos, yet somehow effective. A soft fear spread through those who listened closely, but fear had no place in the chamber of pride. So the warnings were ignored. On Earth, far from the mocking voices of the Council, humanity prepared in silence. The people of Earth had listened to the galaxy's rules of war, and they had laughed. Why fight by rules written by others? Why play a game that was designed to keep humans weak? Humanity had learned through centuries of struggle that survival came from breaking limits, not following them. War was never fair, and humans had no interest in fairness. They wanted victory. In the military command center deep beneath Earth's surface, generals stood around glowing maps of the galaxy. Lines of enemy patrols were marked in red, supply stations circled in blue. The plan was not to meet the enemy in open battle. The plan was to tear at them piece by piece, to strike where no one expected, and to make the galaxy doubt its own strength. One general, an older woman with sharp eyes, spoke clearly. "The galaxy believes we are reckless. Let them. That belief will be our weapon." Her words were met with silent nods. No one in the room believed the fight ahead would be easy. The galaxy was ancient, with fleets larger than Earth could ever build. But humans had something the others had forgotten. They had imagination. They had fire. And they were ready to use both. The first human fleet that moved out was not impressive by galactic standards. Their ships were smaller, their weapons looked weaker, their numbers fewer. Yet hidden within those ships were ideas no alien commander could predict. Modified cargo haulers carried hidden missile bays. Civilian communication drones were turned into traps that sent false signals across enemy space. Even damaged ships, instead of being abandoned, were prepared to explode near enemy patrols. Nothing was wasted. Nothing followed the rules. At the edge of Alliance territory, the first clash came without warning. A patrol fleet of aliens entered human space expecting an easy show of power. They marched in perfect formation, their ships aligned like shining knives, their commanders proud to teach humans a lesson. But the lesson turned against them. The patrol ships suddenly found themselves in darkness as human jammers filled the skies. Strange signals pulled them into ambush zones. Missiles came not from the front but from behind, fired by freighters that should not have been armed. Human ships did not line up for battle. They scattered like wolves, striking, vanishing, then striking again. The alien fleet collapsed in confusion, their perfect lines shattered by chaos. When the fight ended, half their ships burned in space, and the rest fled in terror. On the other side of the galaxy, when news reached the Alliance Council, the chamber fell silent. The laughter was gone. The first battle was supposed to prove humanity's weakness, but instead it proved something far more dangerous. Humans had no interest in rules. Humans fought to win. And if this was only the beginning, the galaxy had no idea what storm was coming. The galaxy had always believed in order. Battles were supposed to be clean, controlled, and honorable. Armies moved in neat formations, fleets fought in straight lines, and victory was measured by who followed the rules best. But when humanity entered the war, that old order began to fall apart. After the first reports of missing patrols and shattered fleets, the Galactic Council decided to send a proper armada to crush the humans. It was not the largest fleet, but it was strong enough to erase a young species from the stars. Hundreds of sleek warships gathered near the border of Earth space. Their weapons gleamed, their shields pulsed with power, and their commanders were certain this would be a quick and simple lesson. "They will learn obedience," one alien captain said, "or they will not survive." On Earth, human commanders studied the movement of this fleet with sharp eyes. They knew the numbers were against them. Earth could not match the galaxy ship for ship. If they fought in open space by the rules, the humans would be destroyed. But humans had no intention of playing by the rules. Instead of building giant fleets, they spread their power in unexpected ways. Cargo ships were turned into war traps. Mining stations hid cannons deep within their cores. Even old satellites were reprogrammed to confuse enemy sensors. Humanity turned every weakness into a weapon. When the alien armada crossed into human space, they expected resistance at the border. But there was no battle line, no fleet waiting in honor. The stars were silent. The aliens advanced deeper, confidence growing. Then, without warning, the first strike came. A massive civilian hauler, appearing broken and abandoned, drifted toward the fleet. Alien scanners reported no danger. But as the patrol approached, hidden panels opened, unleashing a storm of missiles. Explosions ripped through the formation, destroying 3 ships instantly. Before the others could react, human warships appeared from behind asteroids, firing in every direction. Unlike the neat alien lines, the humans swarmed like hunters, each ship moving in strange, unpredictable paths. The aliens tried to regroup, shouting orders, demanding order in the chaos, but the humans never gave them time. They attacked, vanished into shadows, and struck again from another angle. It was war without pattern, and it terrified the galaxy's proud warriors. In the control room of the alien flagship, the commander's scales shivered with rage. "This is madness," he shouted. "They fight without honor." But his second officer whispered the truth that no one wanted to hear. "Commander, they are winning." Across the battlefield, human tactics grew even more ruthless. Broken ships were used as bait, set to explode near enemy clusters. Jamming devices filled the sky with false signals, making alien radar useless. Messages were intercepted and replaced with fake orders, turning allies against each other. Confusion spread faster than fire. The once proud alien fleet began to collapse. A squadron of human fighters dove straight into the center of the enemy formation, sacrificing themselves to split the armada in half. Alien captains panicked, retreating in all directions, breaking the unity of the fleet. One by one, human ships hunted them down, like predators chasing scattered prey. By the time the battle ended, the space was filled with wreckage. Dozens of alien warships burned, drifting helplessly. The survivors escaped into the void, their perfect formation broken, their honor crushed. Humanity had won its first true clash with the galaxy's armies, and it was not just victory, it was a message. Back on Earth, cheers echoed across the command center as reports of the battle arrived. Generals stood tall, not with pride, but with determination. They knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy would not forgive this humiliation. The alien fleets would return, larger and stronger, desperate to restore control. But the humans were ready. Every victory gave them more confidence, more courage, and more respect for their new way of war. Meanwhile, across the stars, fear spread like a virus. Alien citizens whispered about the humans who fought without rules. Commanders trembled at the thought of facing them again. Some even refused to send their fleets forward, claiming it was suicide. The old balance of the galaxy had been shaken, and a new name was spoken with dread in every council hall: humanity. News of the battle spread faster than light. In every corner of the galaxy, whispers of human victory grew into storms of fear. No one had expected the young species to survive, let alone defeat a disciplined fleet of the Alliance. Alien reporters spoke in hushed voices about the strange tactics, the chaos of the battlefield, and the way humans turned weakness into power. Some called it madness, others called it genius, but all agreed on one thing: the rules of war had been broken. In the great cities of the Alliance, fear crept into daily life. Ordinary citizens who had never heard of Earth before now spoke of humans as if they were monsters. "They do not fight like us," one alien trader said, his many eyes wide with dread. "They do not follow the code. They strike from shadows. They laugh at death." In marketplaces and meeting halls, rumors twisted into legends. Tales grew of human ships that appeared out of nowhere, of soldiers who fought without fear, of fleets destroyed by a handful of Earth's warriors. The fear was greater than the truth, but it served humanity well. Across the stars, leaders argued over what to do. Some demanded immediate punishment. They wanted the full force of the Alliance to march into human space and erase the dangerous species before it grew stronger. But others hesitated. They remembered the reports, the chaos, the humiliation. If small fleets could not stand against humans, then what guarantee was there that a larger one would? Behind closed doors, councils whispered. Some races even suggested the unthinkable, allying with humanity instead of fighting them. This division was exactly what humans wanted. On Earth, leaders watched the galaxy crumble under the weight of its own fear. The strategy was working. Humanity had not just won a battle, they had won control of the galaxy's imagination. Fear was a weapon sharper than any blade, and it spread without needing ships or missiles. Yet while fear spread, so did anger. The alien commanders whose fleets had been destroyed burned with shame. They had lost not just ships, but honor, and in the galaxy honor was everything. One commander swore revenge before the entire council, his voice shaking with fury. "They are not warriors," he spat. "They are animals. They fight like cowards, hiding behind tricks and traps. We must crush them, not fear them." His words were loud, but his eyes betrayed the truth. He feared them just like the rest. In the darkness of space, the humans continued their strange war. They did not wait for the enemy to gather strength. Small human fleets struck deep into enemy supply lines, destroying fuel stations and stealing food shipments. They turned the galaxy's size into a weakness, cutting it apart piece by piece. Alien merchants began to beg their leaders to stop the war. Trade was collapsing, borders were unsafe, and every shadow in space seemed to hide a human ambush. What had started as a war against one small planet now threatened to break the balance of the galaxy itself. Meanwhile, human soldiers gained a terrifying reputation. Survivors of battles described them as war ghosts who never fought the same way twice. One day they were invisible, using silence and shadows; the next they were thunder, charging with fire and steel. The unpredictability broke the will of enemy soldiers long before the battle even began. Armies feared the name of Earth, not because of numbers, but because they did not understand how to fight such an enemy. In hidden meetings, alien scholars tried to study human history. They uncovered records of Earth's endless wars, of nations that had risen and fallen in fire. They saw a species that had never known peace for long, a people forged in survival, a race that had learned to adapt faster than any other. The more they studied, the more the fear grew. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy faced an enemy it could not predict, could not control, and could not easily defeat. Back on Earth, the leaders understood the danger of their growing legend. Fear made them powerful, but it also made them a target. The Alliance would not stay divided forever. Sooner or later, the galaxy would come together again, stronger and angrier, to erase humanity completely. But for now, the fear was enough. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage, and with every shattered fleet and every whispered rumor, the message became clearer. Humans would not follow the rules. Humans would not bow to the old order. And the galaxy, once so proud, was beginning to tremble. The Galactic Council could no longer ignore the threat. The whispers of fear had grown too loud, the humiliation too heavy, and the merchants too desperate for safety. After months of debate, the decision was made to build the largest fleet the galaxy had seen in centuries. Dozens of races sent ships, weapons, and soldiers to one cause: the destruction of humanity. It was not a patrol or a warning this time. It was an armada, a storm of metal that stretched across the stars. From every world, the fleets came together until the gathering of ships looked like a second galaxy. Their commanders spoke with pride. This time, the humans will drown beneath our numbers. They cannot break what is unbreakable. They cannot trick us all. The news of the armada spread quickly, and even humans trembled at the scale of the force being built. On Earth, screens glowed with reports of enemy numbers that dwarfed human fleets by 100 to 1. Some citizens panicked, fearing that their short victory would end in fire and silence. But inside the hidden war rooms, human generals did not shake. They looked at the maps and saw not only ships, but weaknesses. Every great force carried its own flaws, and the larger the armada, the greater the cracks within it. One general leaned over the table and spoke calmly. They believe size is strength. They will learn that size is also weight, and weight can be broken. Plans were drawn, traps prepared, and every corner of human space became a battlefield waiting to be lit. When the Great Armada finally crossed the border, the galaxy expected Earth to surrender. Instead, the war began in silence. The humans did not face the enemy in one grand battle. They cut at the armada piece by piece. A supply convoy vanished into an asteroid field where hidden mines exploded without warning. Fuel depots were destroyed by drones that looked like harmless satellites. Even captured prisoners spread lies into the enemy's communication systems, turning commanders against each other. The massive armada slowed, then stumbled, then fractured. It was too large to move as one, too heavy to react quickly, and humans struck wherever the cracks appeared. Still, the alien commanders pushed forward, determined to bring their full power against Earth itself. That was when humanity revealed its greatest trap. Near the edge of the Sol system, the armada entered what looked like an empty stretch of space. Suddenly, civilian freighters appeared, drifting without engines, as if abandoned. Alien captains laughed at the pathetic sight, certain it was another small trick. But when they approached, the freighters came alive, releasing swarms of hidden drones. Missiles streaked through the void, tearing into the front lines. Then asteroids around the field shifted, revealing themselves to be armored stations with cannons. The trap closed, and the largest fleet in the galaxy found itself bleeding from every side. Human ships did not line up to fight. They scattered like wolves around a herd, striking the weak, vanishing before the strong could answer, then returning again. The sky burned with chaos, and the neat formations of the armada shattered. In the command chamber of the alien flagship, panic spread. Messages came from every direction: ships destroyed, squadrons missing, captains screaming for help. The perfect armada was collapsing. "Impossible," the Supreme Commander whispered, his voice broken. "We outnumber them. We outgun them. How are we losing?" The answer was simple, though he could not accept it. Humanity refused to play by the rules. The battle stretched on for hours, then days, as human fleets refused to meet the enemy in a single duel. They bled the armada slowly, forcing it to starve, to break, to fear the shadows. Every asteroid became a weapon, every broken ship a trap, every silence a warning. By the time the last human strike came, the armada was no longer an army but a scattered group of survivors begging for escape. When the final order was given, the shattered remnants fled, leaving behind burning wreckage and silence. The largest fleet in galactic history had not only been defeated but humiliated. Word spread like wildfire. The galaxy had sent its might, and its might had been torn apart by a species it once mocked as weak. In cities across alien worlds, riots broke out. Citizens demanded answers. Soldiers refused orders. The fear that had begun as whispers was now a scream. Humanity had faced the galaxy's strength and broken it. On Earth, the people stood taller. They had proven not only that they could fight, but that they could win even against the impossible. Generals spoke to their soldiers with quiet pride. The galaxy wanted to teach us their rules. Instead, we taught them ours. But every victory carried a shadow. The galaxy would not stop. The broken armada was not the end, but a warning. Humanity had rewritten the rules of war, and now the entire galaxy would come together again, not in pride, but in desperation. The storm was only growing. Sparkle's word count, 811. The galaxy was quiet after the fall of the Great Armada, but it was not the silence of peace. It was the silence of fear, heavy and suffocating, as if every star waited for the next storm. Alien worlds whispered in shock, leaders argued in secret, and soldiers refused to march against the humans again. Entire empires that had once laughed at Earth now kept their fleets locked at home, afraid that any move would bring the wrath of humanity upon them. For the first time in history, the galaxy trembled not before the Alliance, not before ancient empires, but before a young world called Earth. Humanity knew the importance of this moment. They could not waste it. Generals, diplomats, and scientists gathered in secret chambers deep below the surface of Earth. They did not speak of surrender, nor did they speak of joining the old system. Instead, they spoke of something new. The galaxy has lived under rules of war for too long, one general said, his voice sharp as steel. Rules written by the strong to keep the weak obedient. Rules that make war into a game, instead of survival. We will not play their game. We will write our own law. The words echoed, and the decision was made. Humanity's message would not be sent in whispers but in thunder. Across the stars, hacked communication channels lit up with the human broadcast. A stern human commander appeared on every alien world, her eyes cold, her voice steady. To the galaxy, she said, hear the law of Earth. We will not obey your rules. We will not bow to your codes. We will not fight in the way you demand. From this day, the law of humanity is clear. We fight to win, and no power will stop us. If you strike us, we will strike harder. If you fear us, fear more. Your fleets are broken, your order is shattered, and your old ways are dead. This is the new law, and it belongs to humanity. The broadcast ended, but the message did not fade. It spread like wildfire, replayed on screens, whispered in shadows, written into history. Alien citizens stared at the human face and felt their hearts shake. For some, it was terror. For others, it was awe. But for all, it was unforgettable. The galaxy had been challenged, not by numbers, not by technology, but by will. And that will had proven stronger than fleets of thousands. On Earth, people celebrated. Cities glowed with light, streets filled with cheers, and children sang of the victory that changed everything. Yet inside the war rooms, there was no celebration. The leaders understood the cost of their choice. By declaring a new law, they had declared themselves enemies of the old order. The galaxy would not forgive. Already, spies whispered of secret councils forming, of races preparing revenge, of alliances born from desperation. But humanity had chosen this path, and there was no turning back. Human fleets spread outward, not to conquer, but to enforce their law. They did not demand tribute, they did not demand obedience, they demanded freedom of choice. Worlds that wanted to live in peace were left in peace. Worlds that threatened war were struck without mercy. This balance confused the galaxy even more. For centuries, power had always meant domination, but humanity showed something different. Power without chains, strength without rules, freedom even in the shadow of war. Some alien worlds began to admire humanity. They whispered of alliances, of trade, of friendship, but always with caution. Others plotted in silence, vowing that one day they would break this reckless species. The galaxy was no longer united. It was fractured, unstable, trembling between fear and respect. And in the center of it all stood humanity, holding no crown, no throne, no empire, only a new law. The law that war would never again be limited by ancient rules. The law that survival mattered more than tradition. The law that no fleet, no matter how large, could force Earth to bend. On the night the broadcast ended, one human soldier sat beneath the stars and whispered to himself, "We are not the strongest, not yet. But we are free." and freedom is stronger than any rule. Across the galaxy, that truth sank deep. The old laws were broken. The new law was written. And it belonged to humanity. The galaxy did not rest after the broadcast of humanity's new law. On the surface, alien leaders pretended to accept it, their voices filled with silence and hesitation, their fleets kept close to their home worlds. But beneath the surface, in secret halls and hidden chambers, plans of revenge began to grow. The humiliation of the broken armadas and the death of the old order was too heavy for the proud empires to endure. They whispered in the dark, plotting alliances that would never be spoken of in public. Messages were sent in codes, meetings held in forgotten moons, promises made in shadows. They would not strike openly, not yet. They would wait, build, and then release a storm unlike anything the humans had ever seen. The silent threat had begun. On Earth, the humans knew this. Their spies moved across the stars, listening, watching, catching fragments of secret words. Reports returned of strange movements, hidden fleets training far from the trade routes, factories building weapons faster than ever before, scientists designing horrors that could burn entire worlds. Humanity's leaders gathered again, their faces hard, their voices low. "They are preparing for something bigger," one general said. "They have not accepted our law. They are only pretending. The real strike will come soon." Another commander leaned forward. "Then we must prepare not only for battles we can see, but for battles we cannot." The humans understood that the galaxy was learning. Their enemies had been humiliated twice, but humiliation only made them more dangerous. They would not fight as before. They would not march blindly into traps again. They would search for new ways, and those ways could be worse than anything humanity had faced. And so humanity prepared. Fleets were built, but not in the open. Bases were hidden inside asteroids, war factories disguised as civilian stations, research labs placed in drifting wrecks of old ships. Humans had learned to use the shadows, and now the shadows became their fortress. Every soldier trained not only for war, but for deception. Every captain learned to fight not only with weapons, but with patience. If the galaxy planned a secret strike, then humanity would become the masters of secrecy. Meanwhile, in the councils of alien power, the fear of humans was matched only by hatred. Some leaders demanded immediate attack, but cooler voices reminded them of the broken armada. "If we rush, we will lose again," they warned. "We must strike once, but strike perfectly." The idea of a secret grand coalition began to take shape. Races that had once hated each other now planned to fight side by side, their only bond being the destruction of Earth. Plans of betrayal were hidden behind smiles. Words of peace were sent to human diplomats while fleets gathered in secret. The galaxy had turned into a silent battlefield long before the first shot was fired. For ordinary citizens on alien worlds, life grew tense. Markets were filled with fear. Traders refused to travel near human space. Soldiers trained longer hours, whispers of invasion spreading through the barracks. Children were told stories of humans not as heroes, but as nightmares. "They come without warning," the stories said. "They strike without mercy." The fear was real, but behind that fear burned a rising hatred that could not be ignored. Humanity, too, felt the weight of silence. Victories had made them strong, but victories had also made them targets. For every cheer on Earth, there was a shadow in space plotting their downfall. The leaders knew it, the soldiers felt it, even the common people began to sense it. Something was coming, something larger and darker than anything before. The question was not if the galaxy would strike again, but when. In the quiet of the command room, one human general spoke words that echoed like thunder. "We stand at the edge of the greatest war the galaxy has ever seen. They will come for us, not in pieces, but all at once. And when they do, our survival will depend on one truth, that we are ready to fight the war their way, and win it our way." The silent threat moved closer with every passing day. The galaxy sharpened its blade in the dark, and humanity sharpened its will in silence. The storm had not yet broken, but everyone, human and alien alike, could already hear the distant rumble. The storm finally came. After months of silence, the galaxy unleashed its fury. A grand coalition of fleets appeared on the edges of human space, larger than anything seen before. Countless warships from dozens of races, united not by trust but by fear and hatred of Earth, filled the stars like a sea of fire. Their leaders had sworn that this time they would end humanity forever. No more hesitation, no more caution. The silent threat had become a roaring strike. On Earth, alarms blared and screens lit up with warnings of the invasion. Citizens froze, staring at the endless numbers of the enemy. It looked impossible, a wave too great to resist. Yet inside the war rooms, the human generals did not break. They had known this day would come. Every trap they had laid, every secret base they had built, every lesson from past battles had prepared them for this moment. Humanity would not run, and they would not beg. They would fight, not with the galaxy's rules, but with their own. As the fleets advanced, the humans struck with shadows. Hidden mines ignited, tearing holes in the massive formations. Supply lines vanished into smoke as disguised freighters detonated in the heart of enemy convoys. Armored stations hidden inside asteroids opened fire, bleeding the coalition before it even reached Earth. But still the enemy pressed on, driven by desperation. The final battle began near the Sol system, and the stars themselves seemed to shake. Alien fleets advanced in lines so vast they looked endless, but the humans refused to meet them head-on. They broke the lines apart, scattering the enemy into smaller groups, then hunted them like wolves hunting prey. Confusion spread across the coalition, old rivalries resurfaced, orders clashed, and betrayal sparked among allies who had never truly trusted one another. Humanity fed on the chaos, turning the galaxy's strength into weakness. Hours turned to days, and space burned with wreckage. The coalition fought with fury, but fury could not defeat cunning. They had numbers, but numbers could not defeat imagination. Slowly, painfully, the greatest armada in history began to crumble. One by one, alien ships turned away, commanders choosing survival over honor, until the coalition that had sworn to end humanity dissolved into broken fragments fleeing into the dark. The battle was over. Humanity had not only survived, it had triumphed. The galaxy's final gamble had failed. When the last enemy ship vanished into the void, the humans sent one final message, not in rage, but in iron certainty. Across every channel, every world, every system, the same words rang out: the age of rules is over. The galaxy belongs to no single empire, no council, no armada. We will not obey your codes, and we will not bow to your traditions. The new law is clear: freedom. Fight us and you will fall. Stand with us and you will rise. The choice is yours. The words shook the stars. Alien worlds listened in silence. Leaders who had once dreamed of domination lowered their heads. Soldiers who had feared humanity now respected them. The galaxy, proud and ancient, understood at last. The humans had not just won battles, they had rewritten the meaning of war. They had shattered armies, broken traditions, and forced the stars to accept a truth none could deny. Humanity was no longer the weak newcomer. Humanity was power. And power, guided by will, could not be chained. On Earth, the people celebrated not with arrogance but with relief. They had stood against the impossible and endured. The generals who had carried them through the fire reminded everyone that the war was not only about victory, but about survival, freedom, and the right to stand as equals in a galaxy that once mocked them. Across alien worlds, something unexpected began to grow. Not only fear, but respect. Not only terror, but admiration. Slowly, some empires reached out not with fleets, but with hands. Trade agreements were offered, alliances discussed, treaties signed. Humanity, once unwanted and underestimated, now shaped the destiny of the stars. And yet, in the quiet of the night, human leaders remained watchful. They knew the galaxy too well to believe in perfect peace. Somewhere, in hidden corners, hatred still burned. Somewhere, old powers dreamed of revenge. But humanity was no longer afraid. They had faced the galaxy at its strongest and forced it to bow. Whatever came next, they would be ready. The story of Earth had been written not in submission but in defiance, not in rules but in freedom, not in silence but in fire. And as the galaxy looked upon the rising world with awe, one truth remained above all others: humans did not follow the rules, they made them.